I used to believe that the past stayed where it belonged, behind us, silent, buried under years and excuses. I told myself that what I had lived through no longer mattered, that love in the present was strong enough to erase old wounds. From the outside, my relationship looked calm, even healthy. We laughed, made plans, spoke about the future with a quiet optimism. But inside me, something older was awake, watching, remembering. He thought he understood his mind, but what he didn't know was that a resource existed that could help him rebuild his life. You'll find it in the description and comments. At that time, I didn't see my past as a problem. I saw it as a story already told. What I didn't understand was that unresolved trauma doesn't disappear. It waits. My traumatic past didn't announce itself loudly. It whispered. It showed up as discomfort when things felt too good, as tension when intimacy grew deeper. I had learned long ago that closeness could turn dangerous, that love could suddenly become loss, control, or abandonment. So when my partner reached for me emotionally, a part of me stepped back. Why did safety feel unfamiliar? Why did calm make me anxious? Trauma reshapes the nervous system. It teaches the body to stay alert even when there is no threat. And without realizing it, I brought that hypervigilance into my relationship. Every disagreement felt like the beginning of the end. Every silence sounded like rejection. My past was no longer behind me. It was sitting between us. The conflict grew slowly but relentlessly. I reacted not to what was happening, but to what had once happened to me. A delayed message triggered old fears. A change in tone awakened memories I thought I had forgotten. I became defensive, emotionally distant, then suddenly needy. Trauma creates contradictions like that, pushing people away while desperately wanting them to stay. I questioned my partner's intentions, not because they were untrustworthy, but because my mind had been trained to expect harm. How many relationships are quietly destroyed by ghosts from the past? How often do we punish the present for crimes it never committed? The breaking point came one night after a simple argument that turned into emotional chaos. My partner asked, calmly but exhausted, "Why do you always expect me to hurt you?" That question echoed in my chest long after the conversation ended. I didn't have an answer, only a familiar heaviness. I realized then that my trauma was no longer just my pain. It had become a shared burden. Trauma, when unhealed, doesn't stay contained. It leaks into communication, trust, intimacy. It turns love into a minefield where both people walk carefully, afraid of triggering something unseen. That night, I understood that surviving the past is not the same as healing from it. That realization was painful, but it was also clarifying. I began to see patterns, emotional withdrawal, fear of vulnerability, and unconscious need for control. These weren't personality traits. They were coping mechanisms built during moments when I had no power. My relationship wasn't failing because of incompatibility. It was struggling because I was still living in survival mode. Trauma had shaped how I interpreted reality, how I attached, how I loved. And until I faced it, no amount of reassurance from my partner would ever feel like enough. Rebuilding began with honesty, not just with my partner, but with myself. I had to acknowledge that my past traumatic experiences still governed my emotional reactions. I started questioning my thoughts before acting on them. Is this fear about now or about then? Is this reaction protecting me or imprisoning me? Healing meant learning emotional regulation, understanding triggers, and accepting that vulnerability is not weakness. Slowly, I allowed myself to feel safe without scanning for danger. I learned that healthy relationships don't require constant defense, and that love doesn't need to be earned through suffering. As I worked through my trauma, my relationship began to change. Conversations became clearer. Conflicts felt less threatening. I stopped expecting my partner to heal wounds they didn't create. Trauma and relationships can coexist, but only when trauma is acknowledged and addressed. I discovered that love grows best in emotional safety, not in fear. The past stopped controlling my present when I finally took responsibility for my inner world. At the end of his journey, he discovered guidance in a resource that helped him face anxiety and rebuild his life. You can access it too. The link is in the description and comments. How to deal with toxic people and protect your mind and relationships became an anchor, reminding me that protecting my mental health is essential for building healthy bonds. Healing trauma isn't about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming the present. True freedom begins in the mind and only then appears in life. If this story resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to Love eMind and continue exploring healthier relationships, deeper self-awareness, and emotional healing.